Right now, there is a crisis that affects approximately 844 million people worldwide. Nearly 1 in 10 people do not have access to clean water. This percentage rises in developing nations where only 42% of people have access to clean drinking water. Lack of clean water causes an estimated 5 million deaths annually. In comparison, 18 million people died during World War I in a 4-year span, which means that insufficient access to clean water, at 5 million deaths per year, is responsible for more deaths than the war to end all wars. Within those 5 million deaths, nearly 365,000 children will die this year as a result of preventable water sanitation-related diseases. 844 million people do not have access to clean water because nearly 2.3 billion people do not have access to proper sanitation and toilets. Globally, 1 in 3 people do not have access to a toilet, which results in open defecation and fecal contamination in water sources. This crisis sounds as though it cannot touch us and our nice, clean, protected lives within a developed nation with water treatment systems and government-enforced policies. However, that is not the case. Flint, Michigan is home to one of the worst examples of the consequences of insufficient access to water in recent American history.
Owner of this house, Leanne Walters, first called the EPA last spring to sound the alarm. Her children had been diagnosed with lead poisoning. She says city officials had already told her the pipes inside her home were the problem, but she knew all the pipes were plastic.
Starting in 2011, the state of Michigan took control of the city's finances and to cut on costs, switched the city's water source from Lake Huron to the Flint River. The Flint River had not been used as a source of water for the city since the 1960s. Historically, the water in the Flint River was contaminated by fecal coliform bacteria, low-dissolved oxygen, plant nutrients, oils, and toxic substances resulting from large industrial complexes, landfills, and farms with pesticides and fertilizer. However, in 2001, the state ordered the monitoring and cleanup of 134 sites within the Flint watershed. Fast forward to April 2014, when the switch to the Flint River system was delayed as construction on a new disinfectant system at the treatment plant was completed. Not 4 months later, in August 2014, the city of Flint announced that fecal coliform bacterium, which is indicative of a breeding ground for disease-causing organisms, was present in the water. The system was flushed with chlorine, and a week later, the advisory was lifted. Less than a month after this, in September, the water tested positive for total coliform bacteria this time, which is an indicator of potential E. coli. At this time, General Motors discontinued use of the Flint water system because the high levels of chlorine were causing the corrosion of engine parts. Yet the water was still deemed safe for human consumption. In January 2015, residents were warned that the water contained byproducts of disinfectants that increased the risk of cancer over time. And later, the levels of disinfecting chemicals in the waters were proven to exceed the threshold set by the Safe Drinking Water Act. Around this same time, children began to develop rashes and suffer from mysterious illnesses, leading to indicators of lead poisoning, and residents carried jugs of discolored water to community town halls. In February 2015, the Environmental Protection Agency notified the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality that the water had tested at 104 parts per billion of lead, which is 7 times higher than the EPA limit of 15 parts per billion. A month later, the lead levels had nearly tripled.
Would allow a system with lead service lines, a large system, not to have the treatment in place.
Since then, life has been a scramble for residents, parents testing their kids for lead poisoning, and lining up for their 1 case a day ration of bottled water.
The issue of access to clean water, water quality, and sanitation is not a problem of developing nations, but a people problem. The water crisis is not limited to areas in the far-off regions of the world. It is a global problem, and it is a global problem that will require an international initiative in order to be rectified.